Hello, my name is Jonas Bernstedt. I'm from the Swedish Agency for Marine and Water Management, or SWAM for short. I'm here to give a short update on ongoing research in Sweden at the moment. The Wind for Cocoa project aims to build long-term knowledge on the cumulative effects of OVF on fish and biodiversity. The project examines the Lillgrund OVF, which was established in 2008. Long-term effects are found through comparing with previous studies, before construction and during the first 3 years of operation in the wind farm and in reference areas. And the project is using the same methods as in previous studies. The project expects to answer questions related to abundance and species richness in the OVF if the reef effect was maintained or enhanced, and controlled for other factors. The Wind Zone project aims to address the question of background noise in the sea related to marine environment and defense capabilities. They will do their studies at Kriegers Flak, which is a steel monopile OVF at 15 to 30 meters depth with no gearbox, which is considered to be the most common future wind farm in Swedish waters. The project will model a wind turbine and make a model of proposed wind farms to estimate the impacts. The model will be based on measurements and modeling of the radiated operation noise in both water pressure and particle motion, as well as vibrations in the seabed. The framework and guidances for how the acoustic footprint should be estimated and what the threshold levels should be. The aim of the EXO project is to investigate collision scenarios between ships and offshore wind turbines. The project will assess the risks and consequences with a focus on emergency response and environmental impact. The project includes developing methods to quantify elision probabilities and estimating primary and secondary consequences. It will map stakeholders and responsibilities and make recommendations for emergency responses and prevention. This is especially relevant in Swedish waters where there is less experience with offshore structures. In case of an accident, it is also important to know who is responsible for what. The project will map all involved parties in emergency response, from shipping companies to OVF operators and government agencies. By understanding roles and responsibilities, the rescue operations can be made more efficient and lessen risks. The coexistence between OVF and tourism project aims to enhance understanding of the perceived impacts of OVF on tourism and establish a scientific foundation to guide decisions regarding the placement of those installations to minimize their adverse effects on the tourism economy. There is a lack of research tools specifically designed to facilitate dialogue and find solutions to address conflicts involving social groups, the wind power sector, and tourism stakeholders. A survey instrument will be developed to gauge the perceived value of the tourist experience in marine areas and coastal landscape affected by offshore wind power development. The project encompasses both qualitative and quantitative data collection, as well as participatory research. The project is based on a previous project investigating the impact of land-based wind farms on nature tourism. The research will be done in collaboration with regional stakeholders and relevant sectors. The project should deliver a holistic assessment tool for evaluating tourist experiences and strategies for informed decision-making in offshore wind power development. The BAMBI project aims to study bat migration in the Baltic Sea area, and also when bats migrate and how this is correlated with weather factors. The project's hypothesis is that the impact of abiotic factors varies depending on location, season, and species. They will survey bats in relation to weather conditions and migration pattern of 2 bat species. The desired outcomes of the project is to identify areas in the Baltic Sea with less conflicts and find ways for regulation for wind power curtailments. The Voltven project aims to quantify the long-term regional biogeochemical, hydrographic, and ecological effects of proposed offshore wind farms with focus on the intended dual purpose of producing hydrogen as an energy source and ventilating the deep water with the oxygen byproduct. Will the oxygenation have a positive effect on the total oxygen levels in the deep water of the Baltic Sea, or will the effects remain local? How does the oxygen dissolve? The project also wants to answer what the biological and ecological impacts are and how they can be followed up and measured through modeling this potential scenario. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Georges Staffy. I'm head of the Ecosystem Approach Research Unit at France Energy Mine, and I'll be presenting the environmental and socioeconomic integration of wind energy research program at France Energy Mine. First, a brief introduction of our institute. France Energy Mine is a research and innovation center for offshore wind energy in France. It's a public-private institute, and today it's a multidisciplinary team of more than 90 employees. Most of the employees are researchers, and the institute is supported by French funding following France 2030 in order to develop mainly research and development projects. So this is the main mission of France Energy Mine in order to transform the various issues of the offshore renewable energy sectors into innovations. The dedicated program for environmental integration of wind energy deals with different aspects, studying impacts on different species of the marine ecosystem, also developing a socio-ecosystem approach of changes within an ecosystem, and developing operational tools for environmental integration. Impact on species will be looking at different compartments of the marine ecosystem. What are the impacts on the marine megafauna? What are the impacts on the benthic species, pelagic species, etc.? The socio-ecosystem approach will be a more holistic vision of the changes in an ecosystem, considering either the ecological changes in the ecosystem functioning, but also the socioeconomic changes within an area. And all this work needs to produce operational tools for environmental integrations, either by developing new innovative protocols or by answering some knowledge gaps regarding offshore renewable energy integration. This program has today more than 30 projects that have been achieved or that are ongoing. That represents an envelope of 65 million euros that have been invested up to until now. More than 25 researchers, including also PhD and engineers, are working within this program, and more than 80 collaborations with different partners have been established, either on the national level in France or also collaboration with European partners to conduct these projects. So I'm gonna give some examples very quickly of some projects. So we have different kind of approaches. So here I have a first project that is the EcoCap projects that have been finalized in December 2024. This project dealt with a specific issue regarding the potential chemical risk associated to the development of offshore renewable energies, and more particularly regarding the anti-corrosion protections that are used on the offshore renewable energy parks. This questioning was really centered about two kinds of protections that are used for anti-corrosion, which are the galvanic anode cathodic protections and also the impressed current cathodic protections. Regarding the galvanic anode cathodic protections, the work that was conducted in EcoCap led us to assess the chemical risk associated with this kind of protections, and no risks in the water column linked to discharges from the wind farm anodes was observed, and we followed a REACH method to conduct this chemical risk analysis. Regarding the impressed current cathodic protections, this project allowed to make a first description of the elements that can be produced by impressed current, knowing that this was something that was lacking in the literature. A second example of project, is the Drakkar Mermaid project that is undergoing now. And it's a project that is focusing on marine megafauna temporal evolution near an offshore renewable energy structure. This project is based on a mast that is deployed in the offshore renewable energy park, which is an offshore wind farm park in the English Channel, the park of Fécamp. And on this mast, there's different deployments of instrumentation that is done, and that allows to study the marine megafauna, but also other aspects such as a reef effect around a park, and to look also on the behavior of some species around a park. And this is a project that is a basis toward a longer-term observatory network. And the third and last project is the Nestor project, which is a nested approach of offshore renewable energies. This project that is currently ongoing has a important role in treating the cumulative impact assessment aspects, and this is done with the development of an ecosystem modeling approach to study cumulative impact assessment. The purpose of this project is to conduct or to achieve the development of operational approaches and tools to assess cumulative impact assessment of the development of offshore wind farm. And the idea is also to consider co-activities, so the development of offshore wind farm, but also human co-activities within the different ecosystem. And here it's a project that has a main role in tackling or to cope with a legal obligation of conducting cumulative impact assessment in the environmental impact assessments that need to be conducted, and there's a need to develop operational tools for that. So here is a third example of the kind of projects and results that we develop at France Energy Marine in order to support the offshore renewable energy sector. So yeah, that's a global vision, and thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer any question if you have.
Hi everyone, my name is Bob Rumus, and I will be talking about the WREN BE program, which is coordinated by the Institute of Natural Sciences in Brussels. We are conducting the monitoring and research into the environmental impacts of offshore wind farms in Belgian waters. As you probably know, the North Sea is a major hub for offshore wind with more than 30 gigawatts of installed capacity. However, ambitions for 2050 are sky high, with plans for having up to 300 gigawatts installed capacity. On the left side of the slide, you can actually see what this would look like it's an artist's impression, showing the different wind farms as well as the offshore grid and interconnectors. On the right-hand side, we get to the plans by the individual North Sea countries. And their ambitions. You can find the UK near the top and Belgium near the bottom. Our ambitions are relatively modest compared to the other countries, which is a logical consequence of the fact that our marine area is relatively small. It is in fact less than 1% of the Scottish marine area. So a quick primer into offshore renewables in Belgium. We have 2.3 gigawatts of installed operational wind. We are in the process of tendering 3 new zones for a total of 3.1 to 3.5 gigawatts. And since last year, construction of an artificial caisson island has started. It's called the Princess Elizabeth Island. There is an overlap between this new wind farm zone and the Natura 2000 zone. And as a small side note, there's a new French wind farm being developed at the border. So lots of transboundary impacts. There is partly because of the relatively small marine area, there is a philosophy of obligatory multi-use. This means that wind farm owners have no exclusive rights over their area. So there we are, and anticipating potential floating solar projects as well as aquaculture. So what's the WREN program? It's a coordinated and long-term monitoring program. It's paid for by all developers, and it's been ongoing since 2005. So it has allowed us to develop some very interesting long-term monitoring series. It's coordinated by the Institute in cooperation with 7 universities and other research institutes. It's an adaptive program, which means we're subject to periodic evaluation. And we look not just at impact quantification, but also trying to understand the cause-effect relationship and aiming to be as spatially generic as possible. It's our main basis for mitigating impacts, but we also assess the effectiveness of the mitigation that is required. One of the underlying principles is the public right to environmental information. So all data that is being collected is open data. And in addition to that, we produce annual freely available reports. You can access the reports through the link on the slide or find them through your search engine. So I don't have a lot of time, so I'll focus on something specific. So 15 years after the first installation of offshore wind turbines in the Belgian part of the North Sea, we still see progressive wind farm-induced changes. These include the gradual expansion of the filtering effect of fouling organisms, which leads to the deposition of finer sediments with higher organic matter content. Where initially these effects were limited to the immediate proximity of the turbines, over the years this has expanded first to tens and then hundreds of meters of distance from the structures. If we model this for the new wind farm, we can actually expect impacts to occur way beyond the wind farm area, even in well-mixed coastal waters. For seabirds, the long-term monitoring series has allowed us to increase the likelihood actually of detecting impacts by increasing our analytical power. And in addition, we may have observed habituation in guillemots and razorbills. They no longer show the strong avoidance that they did in the first 10 years of monitoring. For gannet, on the other hand, this avoidance has proven consistent. WinMon.be has resulted in a number of research projects, which you can find here, and you can find them on our website as well. And I will briefly highlight the NID for BirdLife project. It's an EU life project focusing on black-legged kittiwake. As the species is rapidly declining due to food shortages at the breeding site, the project is developed to counter this population decline by establishing a breeding stronghold on the Princess Elizabeth Island. This is the Caisson Island that I mentioned on the second slide. This will be done by integration of nature-inclusive design elements in the island wave walls. And a whole series of nature-inclusive design measures was co-created with stakeholders, both from the WinMon.be program as well as from industry. Thank you for your attention. I should be around to answer any questions. If I am not, you can reach me through the email address above. Okay, thanks.